Today I am doing this gorgeous meme painting. Despite painting this, I actually have never seen 90 Day Fiancé, but it's No Neck Ed. Basically, I just love this expression, and I've sent this meme a few times. I don't know if that's like disingenuous to send memes of things you haven't seen, but anyways, I thought it'd be really fun. I really explored like different colors and the undertones, and I kind of walked through some ideas about painting accurate values and colors versus brush stroke and some other things like that. But yeah, this is really fun to do. So if you're interested in how I painted No Neck Ed, then stick around, watch it come together. Yeah, thanks for being here, and I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so I'm just starting where I normally do. I have my wood panel primed with orange, and I'm going in with phthalo blue and a little bit of white, just using contrasting colors. This can be a fairly arbitrary choice, but it's kind of my tried and true, so I'm sticking with it. But now I'm just going in and I'm just kind of marking in the features. There's definitely more accurate ways to do this. You can really measure if you want, and if you're new, those might be really helpful techniques. But I'm just kind of eyeballing it because I don't mind having to change things around, and I sort of know I'll have to. But yeah, just eyeballing it at this point. I think now I'm gonna go in, with my darkest values. So one thing I like to do with portraits, because they still are a bit intimidating for me, is to start with the background. So the background, the level of accuracy you need for the background is almost none, because it's A, out of focus, and B, just not a priority. So the pressure to do a good job with the background is like totally off. So I'm just going in with the dark value, and I'm doing the background. I did do his hair a little bit, probably because that dark shape on the left is like almost the same color. So it looks like I'm cutting through to like the darker values on the face. So this happens sometimes if I already have a color on my paintbrush or already mixed up that will work somewhere else. I always look around the canvas and say, where else can I use this color? And that's kind of how I move around. So there's not always like a steadfast rule to everything, but I usually start with the background, and then I sort of just play this game where I say where can I use this color in this composition, and I sort of continue that game basically the entire painting. So the dark values are like the dark shadow in the lip, or usually 1/2 of the nose bridge, depending on the light, is a little darker. Make sure you're paying attention to the reference photo and not just going off of instinct. Because we know that noses are typically symmetrical, sometimes it's easy to want to go in with a shade color used on 1/2 and use that on the other half, because noses in real life under perfect lighting are symmetrical, but you're interpreting light just as much as you're interpreting facial features, so make sure that you stay really honest with your colors and values. So looks like I'm going back to the background color, painting in just probably like white walls and doorways, not really sure. But again, I'm not doing a lot of detail, I'm just sort of roughly blocking in the background values, sort of carving out the shape. And now I'm going in with the flesh tone. I always get asked, what color do you use for skin tone? And I feel like that's a really hard question to answer, because skin tones are basically, it's not like you mix one, peach or brown or, low intensity orange, and you just use that for the whole face. Our faces have a lot of places that get really red, and, I'm recording this with a baby, an infant in my lap, so you'll hear baby noises, but, our faces are a mixture of different colors and values, and when you have a beard, you're going to have lots of cool colors and greens. So the under eyes right here are very violet-y. Typically older people or people who need to sleep will have lots of cool tones under there. So what is the skin tone? Well, just zoom in on the finished product, and it's like a whole map of different colors. That's sort of what I love most about painting portraits, is because you can really find almost any color within a portrait. Our skin tones just have so many variations to it. So yeah, there's no one flesh tone. I say if you're thinking of it like that, and you're not doing something super two-dimensional, I would challenge yourself to think more deeply about what different colors and values you're using for your face. So it looks like I took a really low intensity orange, so basically a brown, and made the value around the hairline darker to kind of create that form. And if you notice that I'm going to do that, basically the darker values are going to be either in the shadows or around the perimeter of the face, and then I'll build up in both saturation and value as I approach the center of the face. And same with lips. Make sure you don't go in too red. That's a mistake I used to make a lot. I don't know if it's because I like played with Barbie dolls my whole childhood, but I always want to like paint everyone's lips like bright red, so fight that urge. One thing about painting wrinkles, a little tip, and you know everyone has them, is just it's less about carving in those dark lines and more about building up the distinct values and having them spaced a little bit. A lot of times if you don't draw the lines in but you just keep the spaces, it creates the illusion of wrinkles without it being like weird and dark. I don't know if you've ever seen them painted too dark, but it looks really wonky, so that's a tip. Another tip is to make sure you don't go in with just one color for either eyelashes or eyebrows. Usually, even if your eyebrows are the same color, they're going to reflect light differently. So like the part of the front of your face might be darker, and then the parts off the side might be reflecting rim light or ambient light, so they might be lighter. And same with the eyes. I always start out with them looking a little bit flat, and then at the end I build up, just because the details at the very end are going to be what makes it really stand out. And so anytime I do a live, usually people remark on the eyes look so weird. It's because usually I give them a couple different steps to work through. I also don't want to over render the eyes too early. It's easy trap to get into, so I leave them kind of open and half done for most of the painting. And so I haven't painted too many beards, so I remember when I was doing this, I kept thinking, all right, just don't overdraw the beard. It's kind of like the wrinkle thing. Like I learned that over painting wrinkles looks really, really fake and really amateur. So I took that same little bit of wisdom that I was able to use and practice, several times to help me approach the beard. So I'm just going in patches, because in some places the skin's yellow and the light's a little warmer, so the beard reads kind of like a gray-green, and in other places the light's more direct and it's warmer, and it reads more blue. So I'm just trying to stay honest to that. And there's also places where the skin and the beard kind of show through at the same rate, and those places are going to look more like a muddy, dark orange. So yeah, it's hard to nail down, and I think I just really leaned into it being brushy at this point. I was sort of channeling my inner Lucian Freud and just leaving things really, really, really unmixed, and yeah, just trying it out. When I paint, I never think of it as like I'm finishing something. I always think of it like I'm putting a value or a color in to sort of work as a placeholder, and then I just keep bouncing around and improving where I can, instead of trying to like formally finish something. I think it was at this point I was starting to see it come together. I was like, okay, I think I know what's going on here. So the nose started to kind of make sense to me. I wanted to rework the shape of the lips a little bit. Usually something like the shadow of a lip is really warm, so I went in with like quite a bit of alizarin to get that value in there. Another baby noise. Yeah, let's see. I'm warming up kind of the perimeter of the face and using that brighter color to really help that pop. Like I do with every painting, not just portraits, but I try to save my brightest saturation till the very end. With acrylics, it's easy to go overboard and make everything look really flat and really bright, and so because of that, I try to work really multi-dimensional, and I work really low intensity, so like neutrals, and then I work up to those really bright colors. So again, I'm just looking into the beard and saying where it needs to be darker, where it needs to be lighter, and then what color can I use to make that make sense. Now I'm moving to probably my smallest brush, and I'm just adding the little bits of detail. So I usually save the last bit of highlights for this stage, and then I also save finishing the eyes up for this last stage. Really anything at this point, but those typically end up being the thing that I work through last. So a lot of just thinking happens in this stage. I make very small, subtle color choices, and it's very common for at this stage to like totally paint over something I worked through. Just adding a little more violets and blues around the eyes. I found that more so than getting the shape of the iris and pupil, that getting the shape of the whites of the eyes really accurate helps an eye come together. Sometimes the whites of the eyes get neglected. They get, you know, painted just one color, or they get painted too bright, which is something I still work on. I have to work through, but I found that if you really look for accuracy in the whites of the eyes specifically, for some reason that really helps the eye shape take form a lot more than just focusing on where the pupils are. Obviously you need both of them for it to make sense, but when I started paying more attention to the whites of the eyes, specifically the shape and the accuracy, I noticed that the eyes of my portrait started to function a little bit better. So yeah, and at this point I'm just bringing up the value of the shirt just because I have so many bright values in the face. I needed it to match, and sort of throwing in, I remember feeling like it was a Hail Mary with the beard, but he did have graying in there, so I mixed up kind of a low intensity bluish gray color, and it reads really bright, but that was really fun because I feel like it made the beard really pop, and it kind of brought all the colors to the forefront. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching that bright, colorful, brushy portrait come together. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and follow me on Instagram. Also, if you want more tips on painting, I do have a workshop, so I'm going to link that in the bio if you want to learn more about painting from me. I sell it through my website, and so far the reviews are really good, so I'm excited for you guys to learn more about that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and you learned a couple of tricks about portraits. Thanks.